Cindy, welcome. This is Cindy Holtfreter, and she's does somatic experiencing,
Right,
right?
correct.
And so we're gonna have a really good discussion uh, on the track of kind of the therapist track of blockages and things like that. So that's one of the things we're gonna do on this podcast. So Cindy, thank you so much for coming.
My pleasure.
And so what I'd like to do is kind of start off with kind of an explanation of what is somatic experience, and we'll kind of get into you and your stuff.
Okay, very good. Somatic experiencing is a therapy that's more body
Hmm.
oriented than therapy as in mind or emotions.
Hmm.
It's really where a lot of stuff resides because it's the heaviest energy.
Hmm.
And so it's gentle, it's thorough, which I love when I see things that are going to be complete or thorough or resolved, and somatic experiencing does that. It's an adjunctive therapy, so it can be used by therapists, it can be used by body workers, and I am a coach,
Hmm.
so I use it with my clients, and it's just woven into everything that I do.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. Which is really cool, and I've done it myself with you,
Yes.
and so I know the experience, and I thought it was very, very helpful.
Yes.
And the nice part is sometimes it's not as traumatic as other things.
Correct. Correct. That's what I love about the gentle
Yeah,
but thorough. So
yeah.
those are my phrases that I use that it's real for me because it was an experience
Okay.
for me.
So let's get into kind of your background, how you got here,
Mhm.
and then we'll dive right into to the rest of it. So what's the how did you get to being a coach, to being
Mm.
doing somatic experience and everything like that?
Gosh, coaching feels very organic for me. Like it was just, I was always going to be that.
Sure.
Just like I was always going to have some aspect of me being able to teach.
Hmm.
So those are the two aspects for me. My mom was in healthcare. My dad was a teacher and a coach.
Oh, yeah.
They're different because it's more sports oriented, but there's something that I think aligns with having been mentored by both of them in a way. So
Hmm.
coaching started very young for me. I was, well, not very young. I was going to say I was in my 30s.
Okay.
And so I did coaching on the side and did it from a volunteer point of view,
Hmm.
and then was certified. And I've been coaching all the way along. Most of my natural ability comes from consciousness
Hmm.
or transformation. So it's really being aware and awake.
Hmm.
So going into the body and with the somatic was just an easy shift
Hmm.
because it was about awareness and it was about letting the body's wisdom help us. How I got to somatic was it was a personal thing.
Okay.
So I was going through some tough times around my parents, my dad being sick with cancer, and he ended up passing away, and my
Hmm.
mom having anxiety her whole life. And I had these episodes of panic attacks
Hmm.
and anxiety. And me and my brilliance as a kid was just sort of like, oh, it's mind over matter, now became a real experience for me.
Hmm.
And in that particular time frame, I was looking for what can I do because I'm not interested in having a life that's anxious and having anxiety and trauma based for my whole life. I saw both of my parents have that in
Yes.
different formats,
Yeah.
and I thought I'm not going down that path. And so that's when I, found somatic
Hmm.
experiencing, had my own sessions, and then really just went right into being trained because I could.
Yeah.
And it became just a love of mine
Okay.
because it makes such a difference. So that's how I got to be a somatic experiencing practitioner and coach.
Got it. So when I look at the arc, so you were doing coaching,
Mm-hmm.
and so you noticed that maybe certain people had barriers or they weren't kind of getting to where they needed to be,
Correct.
and through your own experiences, somatic experiencing, you felt that maybe this could help them.
For sure.
So tell me about that.
So even though I was in transformation and conscious coaching,
Hmm.
it all was in the form of leadership coaching. So I
Hmm.
did a lot of work inside the corporate world,
Hmm.
inside of retreats and leadership retreats.
Hmm.
And what I would find is people would have what I fondly call stuckness
Yes.
or sluggishness. Like they had a resistance there that was, it could be trauma based. I didn't have to go there. I didn't have to dig deep into that as a coach.
Yeah.
If they revealed that, yay. If they didn't, it didn't matter because the body could lead.
Hmm.
And so That's why I feel like somatic experience is woven into my coaching, because wherever we get a little
Stuff.
resistance or
Yeah.
stuck, then I just be able to weave that in. And so it's very, very helpful
Yeah.
in being able to evolve in life.
Yes.
And when I'm talking about evolving, I'm talking about really having the quality of life,
Hmm.
not being stuck in survival. And I've got it handled. I've got it handled. I've figured out how to live. I can survive this anxiety. I've got, whether I have medication or not,
Sure.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah.
And what would it be
Mm.
like to not just have a good life, but one that's free?
Yeah.
And you are so self-expressed. You can be anything you want to be. It doesn't have to be off the charts, jumping off of cliffs and stuff like that. It can be what's your authentic expression. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that was very important for me.
Yeah.
And somatic experiencing helps that. Do we delve into the traumas? Yes.
Hmm.
But we can do it in conjunction with the body, because that's where it's not so much in our memory or
Hmm.
our minds,
Hmm.
it's really in our nervous system.
Hmm.
It's wired to predict scary moments to keep us safe.
Got it. Got it.
So it's in
Yeah.
it's in the nervous system.
Hmm.
So I don't need to talk about it to get access it is through the body.
Well, and what I like is, there's a lots of times, especially with guys, right?
Right?
It's like, well, we don't want to go to traumatic experiences. We don't want to relive it. We don't want to talk about it because we might get emotional. And guys aren't supposed to be emotional on
Yeah.
this. And what I love about it is sometimes you just identify where in the body
Correct.
this nodule is, and you can resolve it without having to go down the pathway of doing some intense um, emotional work. Is that
Correct.
accurate?
Yes. So I spend most of my time at the body level, the
Yes.
sensation levels.
Yep.
So somatic means sensations.
Hmm.
And I would say with every single client, people I work with, I would say that it's about trusting
Hmm.
and really feeling safe enough to be yourself and to look at it. You've got to be safe enough to take a look at stuff. We don't jump right into the center of a trauma.
Sure.
It's sort of like a wade in process.
Okay.
So that's what also makes it gentle. And for guys, I don't usually do like guys versus,
Well, that's
women.
perfectly fine. Yeah.
It's who am I working with right now and what are they bumping up against?
Yes.
But if there was one, it would be that guys have a tendency to have it, they have to look like it's all together
Yes.
and like tough it out.
Hmm.
Tough it out. I've got
Hmm.
it handled.
Hmm.
And so to make them safe enough and trust you enough to be able to let down their guard for even if it's just a 60-minute period of time, so that they can allow that those sensations to come up and let them complete. But I train people to actually know what they can do even at home
Hmm.
so that they can do the more subtle ones. Whereas when it starts getting a little bigger and a little bit more energy to handle,
Yeah.
then you have a practitioner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And that's really kind of, what the objective of what I'm trying to do. Take a person,
Mm,
from the head to the heart.
yes.
And in my experience and everything, I feel that somatic experience is really a great way of doing that,
Hmm.
a kind of a straightforward way. And so tell me how it could really help a person maybe get through their stuckness. So if you have an example or something like that,
Mm.
where a person is just kind of like here, like you said, I'm good. They're not great. They're not really expanding. But how is that process? How does that really break through, so to speak?
Yeah. Um, so it's interesting. Intuitively, something just came up for me as you were saying it for with men and so forth. When we're dealing with the unknown, so when a man, a woman, a man, anybody is
Hmm.
dealing with the unknown, it feels a little bit uncomfortable. Okay, so somatic experiencing would feel uncomfortable, and do I want to do that? And what I will work with people on is being able to be aware of those moments, like just aware of them, not like step over them, and
Hmm.
then all of a
Hmm.
sudden it is covered up.
Yep.
And so that's where it starts. Now we may tap into something that each person has said to me, like this is where I get stuck,
Mhm.
this is where I can't move forward. So in the like if you're looking at a job or they're going into that part of their life where they're
Yeah.
transitioning, like what do I want to do now? What do I
Yeah.
want to do next?
Hmm.
That unknown comes up very easily. And first letting them know that that is totally fine. Guys have a tendency to go passive if they can't see how they can win.
Get it. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
So then what we do is I introduce more of a curiosity, a wonder, and even a wander.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
let's wander through life.
Yeah,
Let's
an
let's
adventure.
begin,
Let's do
yeah,
that.
let's begin to look at what you do love,
Well,
what you don't. So that's like a pendulation from I'm stuck
yeah.
to where do you start moving? Where do you start opening? And that's a part for me of somatic
Hmm.
experiencing and a part of me for coaching. And so that's what we do is we just sort of keep opening it up
Hmm.
and bringing the boundaries a little bit more open.
Yeah.
You could call it the dance floor, right? The
Yeah, yeah,
dance floor
yeah,
could
yeah.
open up a little bit more for space to play, to dance, to move around.
Well, it's
And
perspective too.
correct.
Guys like adventure, like guys like to wander.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. And so one of those words will hit with somebody,
huh?
and I'll notice it in their face, and then that becomes the word that we're working with because it most fits with their personality. It most fits like
Hmm.
what they align with. So that's what I'm always looking for,
Yeah,
and just opening and softening those edges of stuckness.
sure.
Yes, you can go deeper into traumas and stuff like that, but you got to start someplace,
Yeah.
and that's where we start.
Well, especially, a lot of people just want to say, let's just move, let's do this, right? Let's just move through it. And it's a nice starting point. Like you said, it's cyclical, right? You
Correct.
go through and you work on it, and then you get forward. And if you need to do more, then you do more, and you can go as deep as you want.
Right. There's also a place in which, besides moving forward, what you need to also do is make sure that you feel safe in the moment. We've talked about this.
Hmm.
Um, so there's exercises and ways that I help people to be more grounded, more in their body,
Sure.
and also listening to their body.
Yeah.
And that creates um, safety, awareness, and being able to move forward. But it also starts to build the other half that I'm always watching. Besides resolution, I'm always working on being more resilient.
Okay.
So as you
Yep.
move
Yep.
forward
Yep.
in life, you don't have to be so worried about the traumas because you actually are more resilient and powerfully able to handle any situation in front of you.
Yes. Yes. And to your point,
Yeah. Hmm.
uh, if it's like, well, I want to try this. Well,
Right.
what if it fails? Well, I'm more resilient.
Correct.
I know I can handle it.
Correct.
So that makes perfect sense. That's very cool.
Hmm.
So let's talk about, let's see what else. Got lots of notes here. So there are a couple of ways we can go with this. One is kind of maybe giving an idea or an example of like a grounding exercise that
Mm,
people could do.
yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it with me?
Yeah, let's do
Okay,
it if
good.
that's
Okay.
okay.
So when I want to stay present
Hmm.
and be awake, like it's in the middle of the day, I don't want to be like zenned
That's what
out and
coffee's for.
yeah,
The coffee.
exactly. Then I have people keep their eyes open, but just really feel into their body, okay?
Hmm.
So since we're doing more of in the daytime,
Hmm.
let's do one that's open-eyed for people because they know how to do the closed eyes.
Sure.
Okay, so in this moment, what I want to do is to follow your breath.
Okay.
Relax into your breathing, follow it going down, and then letting it release. And then you bring it in a little deeper and find your natural cadence that makes you feel comfortable.
Okay.
Okay? And then what I do is I literally bring your attention to your feet. Are your feet grounded on the floor flat? Oh,
They are
perfect.
now.
Right. And it makes a difference. So feel your feet on the ground. Feel the backs of your legs on the chair. Okay?
Hmm.
And if your back is touching the chair, it doesn't have to be. Just notice that particular support. Okay? So now you're grounded in your body. Let's go back to our feet and imagine in your mind's eye that your feet have roots growing into the earth. down into the center,
Hmm.
going through the nutrient earth, and down deep in the center of the earth is a beautiful garnet stone. And allow those roots to just wrap around it. I tend to use the red so that it's loving. And as you're breathing in, you're breathing up the energies of the earth, the love and nutrients, and you're bringing it into your body. And as you breathe out your feet and allow anything and everything that no longer serves you to be released into the earth. And then breathing down. And just do that for a few moments. And when you're ready, then let me know, what did you notice?
Um, it's fun. Fun. Maybe the wrong term. I don't know.
That's okay.
Uh, well, it's there's an energy, right?
Yeah.
You feel and you grasp the energy when it's down,
Yeah.
and the rootedness.
Yeah.
It's kind of like what they call earthing when you go out
Yeah.
walking at their bare feet and you kind of get
Absolutely.
grounded, and it's an intentional way of doing it.
Right.
And I like the garnet, just the red, the love, but also the root chakra. That's what I went to first,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
And just kind of bringing that up and the safety, security,
Right.
and just the purpose of just breathing out, breathing in, feeling my body being a little bit more energized,
Right. Good.
and some negative stuff going out.
Yes.
That was the more difficult part for me, is shoving it out through my feet into the earth. So
It was a switcheroo for you from
yes.
breathing, where we think oxygen's going out.
Mhm.
So it does take a little bit. Once you've done the exercise
Mhm.
a little bit longer, you actually like to release things that no
Mhm.
longer serve.
Yes.
So energetically, people like that. And I also, it's a little woo-woo, but I think that the earth transmutes everything to love.
Okay.
So
Mhm.
to me, it's not about you're getting rid of junk. You may think that, but there's always love in everything. So
It's all energy.
it's all energy.
And so you have
Cannot be
negative
destroyed.
energy, you have positive energy, and
Mhm.
all energy can be transformed. So
Correct.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
So thanks
So
for doing
what
that.
other things should we be talking about? Again, the we're talking we can talk about, successful men. We talked about how they can go through blockages. We talked about, that second area of life inside of connecting with
Right.
themselves and their feeling about, well, they don't know.
Right.
They just know they're not happy. They're good, but they're not great,
Got it.
and how it can help move them through. Is there anything else surrounding this that you think people might want to know?
I think first of all, know yourself.
Okay.
Know yourself, what you need. It takes courage to be able to step into and be able to do your own self work, but the self work is so rewarding to be able to go through it,
Mhm.
not around it, not stuff it. Okay. So if you're someone who is more intellectual,
Yes.
so that particular person, I usually work with a lot of intuitive people, or people that are really interested in, wow, I could hear what you were saying. And even though I'm intuitive, I believe every single human being is intuitive. It's whether they call it that. So a guy will call
Got
it
it.
my gut,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
And so I just work from there. But let's say that anyone listening is a little bit more intellectual, and they're not ready to, they don't really know enough about the body, or
Mhm.
how do you access that?
Mhm.
When I say go within, they're like, what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it.
So we have some
Mhm.
books here that are really good. So a simple book that really helps
Yep.
people to be um, understand somatic experiencing, healing trauma, and gives them the exercises in their own hands
Mhm.
to be able to do it. This is a
Yeah.
very small book,
Yeah.
but it's worthy. And Peter Levine is the man that really created somatic experiencing, and he's been doing this for years, and it's a very solid therapy. So this one's more user friendly.
Yeah.
If somebody
I
wants
like
to
user
get,
friendly.
yeah, absolutely. So Awake the Tiger Within and Healing Trauma is his first book. It's a little bit more scientific and deeper, and so I don't always recommend this one, but if somebody wants to take a deep dive, go for it. I believe that the unspoken voice, how the body releases trauma and restores goodness.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it says on the front. And it's perfectly said.
Mm-hmm.
I like this book a bit more. It's deeper. You can actually see it's a little bit thicker. And so here's the easy, and here's a little more deeper dive. So if somebody's more intellectual and wants to get an understanding of it, good. Um,
Well, I like it. And the thing that people need to realize is when trauma is stuck in your body, it can cause disease.
it can, because you're stuffing it even more and keeping it contained. Um, our bodies are meant to flow,
Mm-hmm.
and they're meant to have an up down, like breathing, our heart, our
Mm-hmm.
brain
Rhythm.
waves.
Yep.
It's got a rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have stuck energy, there's some sort of dysregulation in your
Mm-hmm.
nervous system.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the way I describe dysregulation, I use metaphors or analogies, but it's like having one foot on the brake pedal
Yes.
and one foot on the
On the
gas
gas.
pedal.
Yeah.
It's got that revved energy, but no place to go.
Yes.
Okay. And there's also a hypervigilance about it. So when I use the word hypervigilance, most people are like, "Oh my gosh, that's the exact word I needed to hear."
Yeah.
But that's what happens when your body is in that high alert state. And so if you notice that,
Mm-hmm.
you're ready for starting to become aware and awake to those sensations in the body, and actually listen to the wisdom of the body. The body knows how to handle it. We just don't give it attention,
Mm-hmm.
and we don't help to facilitate it.
Got it.
I believe every human being is our self healers.
Yes.
They just might need a little facilitation and coaching on how to have that happen.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So intellectual, a little bit more on the intuitive or into their body already.
Mm-hmm.
Great, then they're ready for doing this stuff. How does a person know? If you're listening to this and you're starting to get like a sense, like,
Yeah.
I'm wondering,
Yeah, this is interesting. Mm-hmm.
yeah, then it might be time to have a
Conversation.
conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah, to
So,
see.
and let's talk about that.
Oh,
So
sure.
let's talk about you, how they might be able to contact you,
Oh, good.
and kind of the offer.
Perfect. I always forget that part. Yes. So, just to let you know, I am here to help people, period. And so, consequently, one of my my main offering is just to really be able to have complimentary
Mm-hmm.
conversations with people,
Mm-hmm.
to be able to see if it's a fit for them.
Sure.
And it's if it's a fit for them, but it's also, am I a fit for them, and are we a fit together? Because I will also in that conversation be able to transparently say things like, well, I think that, I would highly recommend more of therapy with somatic experiencing, and here are some people that I know as
Mm-hmm.
colleagues, and I know who they are and
Mm-hmm.
how they operate, and that they're actually very gifted at somatic experiencing, and then I can refer them out. So in that conversation, there's stuff going on, but it's mostly what are your questions? What do you need to know? Do you need a mini session of somatic
Yeah.
experiencing
Yeah.
like you and I did,
Yeah.
just to
Yeah.
get a sense of what it's like?
Yeah.
Because I want to know. I want to take it from the unknown to the known
Yes.
and be open to that. And then, are we a fit
Mm-hmm.
together? And I have no problem, no problem whatsoever if it's not a fit. It's not personal.
Oh yeah. Well,
It's not personal to
it
me.
needs to work.
It needs to
And
work.
so it's not worth it to force fit something because it's
Mm-mm,
not going to work.
mm-mm,
And Cindy's contact information will be in the show notes,
mm,
or you can go to
mhm.
cindyholtfreter.com, and that's Cindy, CindyHoltfreter.com. That's her website. And you can contact her there if you can't get to the show notes, which hard for me to get to show notes when I listen to podcasts. That's what happens.
Yeah,
So
very good.
so good. Any comments? Last comments on anything?
For me, I think it's to wrap it up and just really say, give yourself the gift of authentically being you and free to be yourself. And Leave the trauma behind. It happened before, a long time ago. Everything you're experiencing right now is an echo. It is not happening in this moment. So let's close that chapter.
Good. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Cindy. I
welcome.
appreciate it. So
Absolutely, my
thank you.
pleasure. Thanks for asking.